Respected Chairman, sir, with your permission, on behalf of my colleague Sri Rameshwar Teriji, I rise to lay the papers listed against his name at serial number 3 in today's revised list of business.
Sri Kaushal Kishore.
जी आपकी अनुमति से मैं आज की
संशोधित कार्य सूची में क्रम संख्या 4 पर मेरे नाम के समक्ष सूचीबद्ध कागजातों की एक प्रति हिंदी व अंग्रेजी में सभा पटल पर रखता हूं।
श्री अजय भट्ट।
माननीय सभापति महोदय, मैं आपकी अनुमति से आज की कार्य सूची में क्रम संख्या 5 पर मेरे नाम के सम्मुख अंकित दस्तावेज सभा पटल पर रखता हूं।
रिपोर्ट्स ऑफ द डिपार्टमेंट रेड पार्लियामेंट्री स्टैंडिंग कमेटी ऑन इंडस्ट्री, डॉक्टर के केशव राव और श्री संजय सेठ।
Sir, I rise to present the 315th and 316th report of department-related Parliamentary Standing Committee on Industry as listed against my name.
Reports of the Department Related Parliamentary Standing Committee on Chemicals and Fertilizers, Sri Ayodhya Ramireddy.
Thank you, sir. I rise to lay on the table a copy each in English and Hindi of the following reports of the Department-Related Parliamentary Standing Committee on Chemicals and Fertilizers. 31st report on availability of medicines and medical devices for COVID management of the Department of Pharmaceuticals, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. 32nd report on demands for grants 22-23 of the Department of Fertilizers, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. 33rd report on demands for grants 22-23 of the Department of Chemicals and Petrochemicals, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, and 34th report on demands for grants 22-23 of the Department of Pharmaceuticals, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. Thank you.
Reports of the Department-related Parliamentary Standing Committee on Communication and Information Technology, Sri Suresh Gopi.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. With your permission, sir, I rise to lay on the table a copy each in English and Hindi of the following reports of the Department-related Parliamentary Standing Committee on Communications and Information Technology 21-22. 1. 32nd report on demands for grants 22-23 relating to the Department of Telecommunications. 2. 33rd report on demands for grants 22-23 relating to the Department of Posts, Ministry of Communications. 3. 34th report on demands for grants 22-23 relating to the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. And 4. 35th report on demands for grants 22-23 relating to the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Thank you.
Honorable members, I have to inform the House that letters have been received from Sardar Balwinder Singh Bundar and Sri N.R. Ilango for grant of leave of absence from the sittings of the House. Sardar Balwinder Singh Bundar has sought leave of absence from 15th March to 8th April due to marriage of his granddaughter, and Sri N.R. Ilango has sought leave of absence from 14th March to 8th March due to his inability to attend the House. Do they have the permission of the House for remaining absent for the respective period as mentioned by them in their leave application during the second part of the current session of the Rajya Sabha? Permission to remain absent is granted. I have received a notice from Dr. Santanu Sen regarding support to the Indian student that was taken up, and then it is under the consideration of the government.
It was taken by Minister.
I understand. I understand. No, I will.
Minister, nothing to fight about, sir.
Right.
The notice is the Ministry of External Affairs gave a statement. Fine. This is the notice. Speak here.
The
Health Minister.
I understood. I understood. I have sent it to the Health Minister. Let us hear from him.
Fair enough.
Santaruji. Santaruji. No. Yes. Sri Ashok Vajpayee.
महोदय, मैं एक बड़े ज्वलंत विषय की ओर सदन का ध्यान आकर्षित करना चाहता हूं। जी महोदय, लखनऊ में, उत्तर प्रदेश के अंतर्गत राजधानी लखनऊ में एक स्कूटर इंडिया लिमिटेड के नाम से एक बड़ा कारखाना था, जहां पर विजय सुपर स्कूटर और विक्रम 3 व्हीलर बनाए जाते थे और सारे देश में इनकी आपूर्ति की जाती थी। प्रतिष्ठा की दृष्टि से, गुणवत्ता की दृष्टि से ये विजय सुपर स्कूटर सारी दुनिया में ख्याति अर्जित कर चुका था। और इतना ही नहीं, इसको समय समय पर विदेशों से भी आर्थिक सहायता मिलती रही और मान्यवर इसकी उत्कृष्टता के कारण इसकी लोकप्रियता पूरे देश में थी। लेकिन एकाएक करके धीरे धीरे चरणबद्ध तरीके से स्कूटर इंडिया को बंद करने का काम किया गया। लगभग 3,500 कर्मचारी उसमें काम करते थे। मान्यवर 150 एकड़ से ज्यादा लखनऊ की प्राइम लैंड स्कूटर इंडिया के पास है और आज जब हम पेट्रोल डीजल के बजाय इलेक्ट्रॉनिक व्हीकल बनाने की तरफ सरकार का ध्यान है, तो मैं आपके माध्यम से सरकार से निवेदन करना चाहता हूं कि स्कूटर इंडिया के लिए कोई इलेक्ट्रॉनिक व्हीकल बनाने के लिए पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप के आधार पर वहां पर एक कारखाना लगाया जाए, जो कि आज आवश्यकता है कि इस तरह इलेक्ट्रॉनिक स्कूटर बने, 3 व्हीलर बने और दूसरे उपयोगी वहां पर व्हीकल बनाए जा सकते हैं। तो आपके माध्यम से मैं माननीय सरकार से अनुरोध करना चाहूंगा कि लखनऊ का जो स्कूटर इंडिया है, जिसके पास पर्याप्त लैंड है, मशीनरी है, सारे संसाधन है, वहां इलेक्ट्रॉनिक गाड़ी बनाने का निर्देश देने की कृपा करें।
श्री राजा मणि पटेल, whoever want to
माननीय सभापति जी, 22 लाख के पद भरे जाने बाबत माननीय सभापति जी, मध्य प्रदेश में अनुसूचित जाति, अनुसूचित जनजाति एवं पिछड़ा वर्ग के लाखों 22 लाख के पद वर्षों से खाली पड़े हैं, उन्हें भरा नहीं जा रहा है, जिससे उक्त वर्ग के बेरोजगार नौजवानों की उम्र रोजगार मापदंडों की सीमाओं को पार करती जा रही है, जिससे उनका भविष्य बर्बाद होने के कगार पर है। विभिन्न संगठनों के माध्यम से बार बार मांग किए जाने के बाद भी पद नहीं भरा जाना बेरोजगारों के साथ छलावा है।
बोलना है
शासन द्वारा आश्वासन देने के बाद भी भर्ती की कार्यवाही नहीं होना दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है। माननीय सभापति महोदय, विज्ञापन जारी कर दिया जाता है, पैसा वसूल लिया जाता है और उसके बाद भर्ती नहीं होते। अगर परीक्षा होते है तो परीक्षा का रिजल्ट नहीं आता, अगर रिजल्ट आ जाता है तो पोस्टिंग नहीं होती। ये हालत है माननीय सभापति महोदय। इसलिए मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री से अनुरोध करना चाहता हूँ कि इस गंभीर मामले पर हस्तक्षेप कर रिक्त पद भरे जाने के निर्देश देने की कृपा करें।
राइट। श्री अयोध्या राम रेड्डी।
Thank you, sir. Sir, there is a huge requirement of cold chain storages and warehouses across our country, especially in my home state AP and more specifically in my hometown Guntur. Sir, you are aware Guntur is world famous for its chilies, exporting around 1.8 lakh tons of chilies every month. This makes Guntur chili a major export item. The Parliamentary Standing Committee on Commerce had noted in 2021 that there should be adequate cold chain warehouses so that chili exports are not hampered in any way. I would like to bring to the notice of the government through you, sir, under PMSKY scheme, 11 cold storages have been built in Andhra Pradesh, but none of these are in Guntur. In the last 2 years, one integrated cold chain unit has been sanctioned for Guntur district through private sector support under PMSKY, but as of now, it is still under implementation. The lack of cold chain warehouses hampers us from realizing our full economic potential through chili export. I request that the Ministry of Food Processing Industries coordinate with the Department of Commerce, develop a plan to increase cold chain warehouses in Guntur district with a dedicated timeline and provide necessary financial assistance wherever required. Alternative means of infrastructural support while these cold chain warehouses are being sanctioned and built should also be looked into by the center so that no losses are incurred in the meantime. Thank you, sir.
To my knowledge, the maximum number of cold chains are there in Guntur.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In the entire country, that is the...
Right.
Yes.
Still it is... Right. Sri Revati Raman Singh ji.
थैंक यू चेयरमैन सर। मानवर, मैं आपका ध्यान इस बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट सब्जेक्ट पर और सदन का ध्यान आकर्षित करना चाहता हूँ। मानवर, हिमालय हमारा सिरमौर है, पूरे देश में इसका गर्व है मानवर कि हमारे हिमालय हमारा प्रहरी भी है जो रक्षा करता है और हमारी संस्कृति और सभ्यता से जुड़ा हुआ है। मानवर, ये भारत की संस्कृति और आत्मा है और आज से नहीं, सनातन समय से चला आ रहा है। ये मानवर, ये तीर्थों का वहाँ पर उद्गम होता है। गंगा और यमुना नदी वहीं से प्रवाहित होती हैं। लेकिन मानवर, अफसोस के साथ कहना चाहूँगा कि हिमालय का इतना दोहन हो रहा है, बाजारीकरण किया जा रहा है कि हिमालय का पूरा स्वरूप और गंगा का पूरा स्वरूप बदल रहा है। और उसका नतीजा ये होगा मानवर कि वहाँ पर अभी नीति आयोग ने ये बताया है कि 60% जल भूभाग का सूख गया है हिमालय का, और आगे ग्लेशियर की तेजी से गल रहे हैं कि आने वाले दिनों में गंगा विलुप्त हो जाएंगी और हिमालय का सर्वनाश हो जाएगा। मानवर, मैं चाहता हूँ आपके माध्यम से कि ये 7 बांध पहले बनाए जाने की वहाँ पर भारत सरकार ने परमिशन दिया था। अब इस समय 24 बांध और बनाए जाने हैं। आप कल्पना कर सकते हैं कि एक बार हिमालय पर केदारनाथ और ऋषिगंगा का प्रलय हम देख चुके हैं। मानवर, अगर इसको रोका नहीं गया तो 4 धाम का चौड़ीकरण जो किया जा रहा है, इसमें लाखों पेड़ 4 धाम के उसमें काटे जा रहे हैं। देवदार, बाज, बुरांश, चीड़, कैल, पद्म, ये पेड़ मानवर फिर दोबारा नहीं लगाए जा सकेंगे। तो मानवर, मैं आपसे आग्रह करता हूँ कि सरकार को निर्देश दें कि इस तरह से बाजारूपन जो किया जा रहा है हिमालय के साथ, इसको रोकें और तत्काल इस पर प्रभावी कार्रवाई करें। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद रेवंत रेवड़ जी। नाम भेज देना एसोसिएट करने वाले। श्री रामनाथ ठाकुर।
माननीय सभापति महोदय, मैं आपके माध्यम से भारत सरकार से निवेदन करना चाहता हूं। महत्वपूर्ण मुद्दे हैं। भारत सरकार अनेक राज्यों में हवाई अड्डे का विस्तार कर रही है और उसमें लाभ भी हुआ है। उत्तर भारत में और बिहार में दरभंगा में हवाई अड्डा का चालू किया गया है। 1972 से समस्तीपुर जिला बना। स्टेट हैंगर हैं, छोटे जहाज उतरते थे। मैं आपके माध्यम से भारत सरकार से निवेदन करना चाहता हूं, आरजू करना चाहता हूं कि समस्तीपुर जिले में बड़े हवाई जहाज को उतारने के लिए और उड़ने के लिए प्रबंधन करे और इसके विस्तार में एक काम करे। यह हम आपके माध्यम से भारत सरकार से निवेदन करना चाहते हैं।
धन्यवाद रामनाथ जी। श्रीमती प्रियंका चतुर्वेदी।
Thank you, Honorable Chairman, sir, for allowing me to raise this issue in the 0 hour with regards to the absence of clear guidelines about the third dose booster shot for Indians under 60 years of age. As the world is returning to normalcy and with flights resuming from March 27th, I'm assuming it will resume from March 27th, several countries are imposing strict conditions that the second shot should have been taken within a certain time frame, failing which the vaccination certificate will not be considered valid. As of now, the Government of India has not laid down any policy regarding booster shots for those under 60 years of age. In many European countries, vaccines are considered valid only for 270 days. So if travelers got their last vaccine shot in April 21, they cannot enter many EU countries without a valid COVID test. Hence, Indians finally looking forward to travelling abroad are now left in a lurch. Due to the absence of clear guidelines regarding the need for the third additional dose to travel abroad, the present situation regarding the travel and vaccination poses a perplexing situation for Indians. And sir, today in today's newspapers, front page newspapers, every newspaper is stating that even Intagi has now come to believe with the rising cases in Europe, it becomes important to have booster dose policy for India. We have seen a phase, sir, in India where there was a shortage of vaccines and citizens could not get their vaccine dose on time. Now we have surplus of vaccines, yet we are not able to come with a clear guideline to be able to vaccinate people below 60 years of age, those who are seeking a booster dose for travel purposes or for safety purposes. So I would request you through the House, sir, to urge the Health Minister to come up with clear guidelines for vaccination or booster doses for those below 60 years of age. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Please send your names. Dr. Vikas Mahatme.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. Recently, Indian Meteorological Department has raised yellow alert for the heat wave in March. Sir, the temperature, if we see in Maharashtra, it was 44 degrees centigrade, in Mumbai it was 39, Karjat, it was 45 degrees centigrade, and Madhya Pradesh 44 degrees centigrade was there in March 19th. This is not in May, this is in March. So this yellow alert was raised. What are the challenges which we face if the heat wave is there, and which we are already having it? ये दिल्ली में भी है और बाकी राजस्थान और गुजरात में भी हीट वेव शुरू है। ये इस बदलते मौसम की वजह से सबसे जो अफेक्ट होते हैं वो गरीब लोग हैं और किसान। तो इनके लिए गर्मी के कारण जो हीट एग्जॉशन होता है, हीट क्रैम्प्स होते हैं, हीट स्ट्रोक होता है, तो इसके लिए क्या किया जाए, इसके ऊपर सोच होनी चाहिए और वो वैसे सरकार की तरफ से दिशा निर्देश देना चाहिए। गर्मी के कारण अनाज या फल जो हैं वो उसकी उपज कम हो जाती है, दूध खराब होने लगता है, ये सब परेशानियां बढ़ती हैं। वैसे ही लाइटनिंग यानी बिजली गिरने का प्रमाण बहुत बढ़ जाता है, जिससे काफ़ी मौतें होती हैं, डेथ्स होती हैं। वैसे ही जंगल में आग लगने की भी संभावना बढ़ जाती है। तो इस तरीके से और परेशानियाँ, क्योंकि फॉरेस्ट अभी कम हो रहा है और इसमें आग लगने से और भी कम हो जाएगा। और जो एलाइट क्लास है उनके जो है वो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कंजम्पशन बहुत बढ़ जाता है। हम सबको पता है कि कूलर्स और एसी ज़्यादा चलते हैं, जिससे कार्बन फुटप्रिंट्स भी बढ़ते हैं। तो इस सब के लिए जैसे पिछले साल यूएसए और कनाडा में भी हीट वेव थी, तो 1400 से भी ज़्यादा डेथ्स हुई थी, मौतें हुई थी। तो उसी प्रकार हमारे देश में भी अभी ये येलो अलर्ट है। तो उसके लिए मैं सरकार से विनती करता हूं कि उन्होंने सभी स्टेट्स के लिए उन्होंने क्या करना चाहिए वैसे दिशा निर्देश, क्योंकि येलो अलर्ट तो जारी कर रहे हैं, लेकिन येलो अलर्ट के साथ में क्या करना चाहिए इसके भी कुछ पॉलिसी रहे, उसके भी कुछ SOPs बने, स्टैंडर्ड ऑपरेटिंग प्रोसीजर्स रहे। ऐसी मेरी विनती है। धन्यवाद।
नायकवी जी, ये विषय बड़ा गंभीर मामला है, इसे एक बार स्वास्थ्य मंत्रालय या इसको देख के एडवाइजरी इश्यू करने के ठीक सुझाव है। गर्मी बढ़ रही है, अभी ऑलरेडी हम लोग अभी मार्च में है, मार्च में इतना गर्मी है तो आगे क्या होगा? वंदना जी कुछ स्टडी किया क्या?
Very important point that our colleague has raised in the House, and it's very important that the government, you've given the right direction, sir.
Yeah. The special mentions, I will allow you, Santanu ji. You made a point, I realized it after it was clarified. I will allow you. If you are ready today, I will allow you in the special mention itself.
Sir, thank you. Yes, sir, same point. No. Sir, same point. Associate, sir.
उनको कहने दो, बाद में associate.
No, he's going to his seat. Sir, because the issue is so important, that is why. So that is why we can request if you guide us for the calling attention motion, so the health minister can come and assure the students. That is all, sir. Thank you.
So we'll consider it. After consulting the minister, I'll examine it. Then we're going to ये कैलाश सोनी जी, आपने क्या है कुछ?
धन्यवाद माननीय सभापति जी, आपके माध्यम से लोकतंत्र के एक बुनियादी विषय पर हम सदन का ध्यान आकृष्ट कराना चाहते हैं और भारत सरकार का ध्यान आकृष्ट कराना चाहते हैं। आज का दिन हिंदुस्तान के स्वतंत्र भारत का सबसे बड़ा दिन है। आज के दिन इस देश में, जैसा कि आप सभी को ज्ञात है कि जून 1975, 25 और 26 जून की मध्य रात्रि इस देश में सारी संवैधानिक व्यवस्थाएं धूल धूसरित करके इस देश में तानाशाही स्थापित की गई। उसके विरुद्ध सारे सर्वोदयी नेता, सब दलों के नेता, जिसमें कांग्रेस दल के भी लोग थे, इन सारे लोगों को जेलों में भेजा गया। 1,10,000 से अधिक लोग
विषय क्या है आज? ओके,
जेल में थे। और दूसरा ये
सुझाव
इसके लिए सारे दलों ने संघर्ष किया और आज के दिन 21 मार्च 1977 माननीय प्रधानमंत्री मोरारजी भाई देसाई की सरकार ने आज के दिन आपातकाल समाप्त किया और लोकतंत्र पुनर्स्थापित हुआ। तो आपके माध्यम से हम विनय करना चाहते हैं भारत सरकार से कि आज के दिन को लोकतंत्र विजय दिवस और लोकतंत्र पुनर्स्थापना दिवस घोषित किया जाए, जिससे आगामी दिनों में कभी लोकतंत्र पर कोई भी आघात करे तो इन सारी नई पीढ़ी को लोकतंत्र के लिए लड़ने के लिए प्रेरणा मिलेगी। इसलिए आपसे विनम्र प्रार्थना है कि लोकतंत्र विजय दिवस के रूप में घोषित किए जाने की।
स्पेशल मेंशंस परमिटेड। सुशील मोदी।
श्रोती महोदय,
प्लीज नो कमेंट, नो कमेंट। This is not the way. If you agree with that, okay. If you disagree, keep quiet. And you get an opportunity, you can also.
श्रोती महोदय, one nation, one tariff for power in India. Sir, Bihar lacks both coal and other renewable energy resources which are essential for producing energy. Hence, Bihar has to rely on external sources to meet its energy demand. Over 3/4 of the energy is bought from central power generation companies whose prices are higher than independent power producers. Bihar is thus compelled to purchase power at higher rates, which have risen 27% between 2015 and 2020. Bihar's average power purchase cost is rupees 5.05 per unit, whereas the neighboring Jharkhand is 4.1 and Odisha 3.01 rupees per unit. It becomes more pronounced when compared with power producing states like Gujarat, Punjab and Maharashtra. The higher purchase cost of power contributes 80 to 85% total cost of distribution companies and translates into higher retail tariffs. As a result, electricity tariffs faced by common people in Bihar are higher than neighboring states. I therefore ask the Government of India to bring in one nation, one tariff policy to ensure uniform power cost and tariff across states. This mechanism can be executed feasibly, similar to GST, wherein as a first step, a national fund pooling the purchase of all generating power and then allocating to states can be created. It shall normalize cost. This is critical to eliminate undue regional disadvantages and provide level playing field for power companies. India is already advancing along this direction through one nation, one tax, one grid, one election. I ask the Government of India to do the same for power tariffs. Thank you.
Sri Tiruchi Siva.
Sir, thank you, Chairman. Sir, my special mention on ban on online games with stakes which lead to addiction. Sir, several online games involving the use of real money as bets have come up in the last few years, and with this there has also been a surge in addiction to these games and a rise in suicide cases due to losing of money by individuals reaching up to lakhs of rupees. So in the last few years, 7 suicide cases have been reported where the primary reason was losing money in an online game. Sir, there have also been reports of individuals addicted to the game adopting extreme measures to procure money to use as wages online. Sir, there is an urgent need to address this issue and bring in a strong legislation for banning such games which involve betting real money. Even if games like rummy and poker are declared as games of skill, the element of placing a wager turns them into games which can be highly addictive and have been proved to be so. So teenagers and adults are both equally affected by this, and gambling being so ready available in the hands of teenagers is highly concerning. So Tamil Nadu government in 2021 brought in an amendment act to address the issue, which included a ban and also has fine and imprisonment for both the users and gaming houses for such games. So our state continues to take it forward, as such games cannot be left unregulated and free to use, especially by teenagers, as addiction to them is not only resulting in heavy economic losses but also loss of lives. So I urge the government to take it seriously to ban online games throughout the country. Thank you, sir.
Send the names so that the list can be prepared. Sri T.G. Venkatesh. Respected Chairman, sir, my request to the Ministers of Home Affairs and Law and Justice, Government of India, through this August House to take concrete steps to safeguard the interest of senior citizen prisoners convicts in this prevailing COVID pandemic situation. Keeping in view of the average age of an Indian being 70 years and the aged elderly prisoners who have higher chance of getting infected, especially the prisoners. The aged prisoners should be given special treatment and considered for release either on interim bail or an emergency special parole on a condition that they report to the nearest police station once in a week. Special scrutiny is needed on humanitarian grounds in such cases where either of the soldiers or prisoners mates have died due to COVID or under any other health condition, and also where their children have become orphaned. This is my sincere request, sir. The average, the citizens living also around 70 years in this country, keeping in view of this as a special case, this decision has to be taken. Thank you, sir. Right. Dr. V. Sivadasan.
Respected Chair, sir, the recent reports regarding the appointment of professors of practice in central universities are a matter of serious concern. It is reported that neither NET nor PhD and not even post-graduation or other education qualifications will be required for appointment to central universities. This move could prove to be harmful to the academic integrity of the universities. It will affect the future of young researchers who are pursuing higher education. Sir, the opportunities will be reduced as people with not defined qualifications could occupy this position. The government should take measures at its disposal to ensure that the academic integrity of our institutions' higher learning is preserved. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We associate, sir. Please send the names. Sri Elamaram Karim.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. So the subject is to augment the train coach building facility in our country. There is an urgent need to augment the train coach building capacity of the nation to produce 400 Vande Bharat train sets within 3 years as announced the recent budget. At present, all the coaches are being built at 3 coach building facilities under Indian Railway. One is ICF Chennai, Rail Coach Factory Kapurthala and Modern Coach Factory Raebareli. ICF has already rolled out 2 sets of Vande Bharat train and the same are in service. Another 2 sets nearing completion in ICF. Orders to the tune of 20 sets to ICF, another 20 sets to RCF still pending. These facilities are doing the manufacturing of Vande Bharat train set besides the usual production works. It is expected that it will take another 2 to 3 years to finish the ordered work. That means the budget proposal of running 400 Vande Bharat Express trains within 3 years will be a difficult task. Hence, the coach building capacity of Indian Railway has to be augmented immediately, and land acquired for the building of a coach factory at Palakkad is laying vacant. There was mentioning something about that purpose in the budget, but the recent budget has lacking that also. I request the immediate step may be taken to start the construction of rail coach factory at Palakkad, Kerala. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Sri Vinay Viswam.
Sir, this special mention is regarding decreasing female labor force participation in the country. Sir, the recent periodic labor force survey conducted by the Ministry of Statistics shows a shocking absence of female workers in the labor force, as the participation rate has fallen to a record low of 20.1% only during the period of April-June 2021. This is the lowest among the major economies in the world. The percentage of women in the labor force is considerably lower compared to men. In men, it is 73.1%. As per periodic labor force survey, the women formed only 17.2% of the worker population ratio during April to June 2021, with a decline of 1.5% from January to March 2021. With a substantial representation of women in the unorganized sector, the lack of employment opportunities, unequal and unsafe work conditions, lack of facilities, domestic responsibilities, etc., has contributed to this decrease in participation. The government must take immediate steps to ensure that conditions of work improve for women in the labor force. Interventions must focus on structural reforms such as gender equal policies, affordable child care and enhanced social security, including medical benefits, health insurance and benefits for women. I therefore urge the government to take note of this decrease and take immediate steps to increase participation of women in the labor force. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Associate, sir. Please and your names. Sri Subhash Chandra Bose Pilli. 0 hour. Subhash Chandra Bose ji.
Honorable Chairman, sir. Thank you, sir. Respected sir, I would like to bring to the notice of the House how primitive our procedure for the assessment of disaster in our country. Firstly, the time taken to constitute a disaster assignment team and deploy it to site after disaster was struck is lengthy, often taking several weeks after disaster has struck. Additionally, it takes even more time for the team to be constituted and a plan to be developed and logistic arranged for these teams to assess the site of disaster after it has struck. The methods of assessment are also primitive and are done manually as opposed to being mechanized and digitized. After few weeks have passed from the commencement of a natural disaster, important information regarding the intensity of the disaster is lost and the 70 is underplayed due to ineffective assessment of modules and therefore the requisite assistance is not provided. Particularly for coastal states like our own state of Andhra Pradesh, natural disasters such as floods and cyclones are yearly occurrence due to our geography. Through you, sir, I request the Minister of Home Affairs to improve our disaster assessment mechanism so that the states are supported to correct the manner during their time of need. Thank you, sir.
Sri K.J. Alphonse. Sri K.J. Alphonse.
So, thank you, Respected Chairman, sir, for giving me this opportunity, even though I was not listed. I would like to bring to the attention of the House, sir, an extremely critical issue. Sir, 15.5 lakh children wrote NEET examination for admission to MBBS, out of which 8.7 students qualified. Sir, out of which, sir, only 10% students got admission in MBBS. So, during the last 7 years, the number of MBBS and postgraduate seats have gone up by 80% to 1.48 lakhs. Still, sir, 25,000 students from India are going abroad, especially to China, Ukraine and Central Asian countries to do MBBS. That means, sir, over a 5-year period of 5-year course, 1 lakh children are doing MBBS course outside India. So this is because of 2 reasons. One is shortage of MBBS seats. Number 1, even though there has been an 80% increase over the past 7 years, some states have done commendable work, sir, like Tamil Nadu inaugurated 11 medical colleges in January. Uttar Pradesh inaugurated 9 medical colleges in December. I think it's a very commendable work. Still, sir, we need to increase dramatically the number of seats because, number one, the seats are still insufficient. Number two, sir, the fees is too high. I commend the Health Ministry for laying down that 50% in 50% of the seats, it would be a regulated fees which is equivalent to what is charged in government medical college. I think it's a great step taken by the government of India. Sir, still, private medical colleges are charging extremely high fees for the rest of the 50% seats, sir. This also must be regulated. Sir, one solution which I can kindly suggest to the House is, sir, public sector undertakings have a lot of land, especially the railways. And many of the public sector undertakings have a lot of unused land. Sir, they must be persuaded to set up at least 100 medical colleges over the next, every year for the next 5 years, so that there will be 500 new medical colleges coming up, being set up in this country, so that our children can study here. I request the honorable government to take immediate steps for this, sir.
Right. Right. Associate names has to be sent. Sri Kanaka Medal Ravindra Kumar.
Sir, thank you, sir, for giving this opportunity.
Retirement of Supreme Court judges, High Court judges.
This opportunity to raise the important aspect with regard to 0 hour. In the Andhra Pradesh judiciary and also as well as in the country in Supreme Courts and various High Courts, there are a number of vacancies with regard to the recruitment, though the recruitment is going on, but there are more than 400 vacancies are there. Still, High Court, the Supreme Court is also some vacancies are there. And number of pending cases, lakhs of pending cases in various High Courts and Supreme Courts are there. There is no mechanism, though the alternative disputes mechanism is established. Pending cases are more in High Courts and also Supreme Courts. In order to resolve this issue and to address the issue of the pendency of the cases, the retirement of age of the High Court judges is at present 62. The retirement age of Supreme Court judges are at 65 at present. I request the central government particularly to enhance the retirement age of the present judges 62 to 65 as far as the High Court is concerned and 65 to 68 as far as the Supreme Court is concerned. So therefore the pendency of the litigations can be reduced, and at the same time increasing of age is one of the solutions to reduce the pendency of the cases before the respective High Courts and Supreme Court. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ravindra Kumar ji. Sri Dr. Fauzia Khan, childhood education.
Thank you, sir. I wish to accelerate the discussion around the status of early childhood education in the country, sir. Based on the India Early Childhood Education Impact Study, children's participation in preschool and early primary grades is unstable, which doesn't necessarily follow the linear age-based trajectory under the Right to Education Act 2009 and the National Early Childhood Care and Education Policy 2013, sir. Sir, with the new education policy in place, which prescribes 5+3+3+4, this model, the intent to maximize qualitative learning has been established. According to the new policy, there will be 12 years of schooling and 3 years of Anganwadi or preschooling. Sir, but the policy makers need to realize that before ascribed increased responsibility to Anganwadi workers, we need to either equip them fairly or to make new recruitment from properly qualified teachers in early childhood education, sir. Since 80% of intellectual development takes place at this age, this phase of education needs specialist teachers requiring relevant teacher training. Sir, the latest central teacher eligibility test results show that only 33% of the 1.27 million candidates who appeared for the exam for primary education teaching could qualify, only 33%. Sir, the RTE Act 2009 mandates minimum qualification for teachers from 6 to 14 years of age. Qualifications for early childhood education needs to be mandated, sir. Moreover, teacher training and adult education accounts for only 0.5% of the total departmental allocation of the 2021-22 budget, sir. Therefore, let's start giving due diligence to early childhood education, given that a very large percentage of cognitive development takes place between 0 to 3 years of age. Pre-primary education should be made an important part of the Right to Education Act, sir. A special board must be set up which sincerely monitors the quality standards and outcomes in the early childhood education system, sir. Before normalizing the pandemic, let's normalize perseverance and patience to learn, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Sivadasan. Dr. Sivadasan, public sector vacancies.
Now India is facing
urgent measures to fill vacancies in public sector.
Now India is facing a grave unemployment crisis. So the public sector companies are not recruiting properly. In December 2021, India had 53 million unemployed people. The depth of the crisis is revealed by the recently published data by Statistical Office NSO. The employment among the 15-year-old and above category has jumped to double-digit levels. So, sir, it has reached 12.6% in the April-June quarter of 2021. Earlier, the January-March period, it was 9.3%. Sir, the second wave of COVID-19 pandemic has recently severely hit the jobs and livelihood of the working class. During April-June 2021, unemployment rate for all ages rose to 12.7% because of these the privatization processes making the huge crisis. In the January-March quarter, it was 9.4%. The female unemployment rose to 14.3%. In the previous quarter, it was 11.8%. The joblessness among the men was 12.2%. Right. In the previous quarter, it was 8.6%. The growing issue, again, the worker population rate fell to 14.9%. In the previous quarter, it was 43.1%. The proportion of self-employment has risen 40.7%. In the previous quarter, it was 39.2%. So only it should be addressed by the government. Privatization of public sector institution will worsen the situation. The government should change the labor and industrial policies. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Associate Senator John Brittas, you have given a notice, but we are having today itself the appropriation bill. That is the relevant. So please take it up in the appropriation bill. Otherwise, I would have allowed you.
One second.
Appropriation bill is going to be taken up today itself in the business.
Okay.
That's why you can take up your issue during that.
Thank you, sir.
Sri Elamaram Karim is there. Oh, he is not there. Abir Ranjan Biswas. Abir. ABG Shipyard.
Thank you for this. Yes, my zero hour is related to ABG Shipyard Limited. Sir, this recently a company engaged in shipbuilding and repair in Gujarat was embroiled in a scandal amongst allegations of fraud. Between 2012 and 2017, sir, ABG Shipyard Limited purportedly defrauded a consortium of 28 banks that was led by the ICICI Bank. And it was to the tune of rupees 22,842 crores, most alarmingly. So loans were taken and then diverted to fake uses. The SBI, now the important part comes, SBI identified the fraud in January 2019. It lodged a complaint in November 2019, and a more comprehensive complaint was lodged again in August 2020, but ultimately, sir, it took February 21 for CBI to register a case. Finally. So, and CBI ultimately registered the case, booked ABGSL and ABG International Private Limited. Now, sir, as of 2021, Indian public sector banks collectively, they owed approximately 6.17 trillion crores and in non-performing assets, and this includes all the money that has been defrauded by scamsters.
That was discussed separately. Yours is specific. You made your
Sir,
point.
let me put things in context, sir, please, and then I can...
In the same house, I have allowed it. Na?
Sir,
Please.
so, a December 2021 report by the RBI under the heading Trend and Progress of Banking in India. It says that 4,071 fraud cases were reported by banks in the first half of financial year 21-22.
I have told you, I have allowed it. It was discussed in the house. Yours is specific, so that's why I allowed. If you again talk about the same...
No, sir, but I'm saying...
No, please remember one thing, my dear. You please remember one thing, that I remember what is happening in the house and what has happened in the house also.
Surely, sir.
So there is no question of repetition.
Sir, then I'll put my conclusion, sir. Just what I want.
What is your suggestion?
So the thing is that, sir, while the government has a duty to protect banks' customers' funds, there is also a need for stricter corporate governance and evaluation of large loan requests to prevent such shocks to the banking system in the future, sir.
Right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So the house is adjourned to meet at 12 today. 12 noon. All 0 hour special mentions exhausted.
उसको हम कैसे डेटा बनाएं और उसका एक काउंसलिंग सिस्टम कैसे डेवलप करें, क्योंकि अनुवांशिक जब हम कहते हैं तो उसमें जितना अधिक जागरूकता फैलेगी उतना ही अधिक उसका समाधान निकलेगा। वो एक पक्ष है। दूसरा पक्ष ये है कि जो इससे प्रभावित है उसके लिए जो ट्रीटमेंट है वो ट्रीटमेंट सरल तरीके से कैसे उपलब्ध हो। कुछ ट्रीटमेंट है जिसको स्थानीय स्तर पर नहीं दिया जा सकता है, उसके लिए भी व्यवस्थित किया जा रहा है। उसके सभी संस्थाओं के साथ हम लगातार जितने भी देश के ऐसे महत्वपूर्ण संस्थान हैं जो रिसर्च बेस्ड है, चाहे वो एम्स हो, गंगाराम हो या अन्य देश के अन्य हिस्सों में जो अच्छे अस्पताल है या जितने रीजनल लेवल में हमारे एम्स खुले, उन सारे लोगों के साथ बातचीत हो रही है और इस पर हम लगातार काम कर रहे हैं। अभी हमारा जो स्वास्थ्य मंत्रालय है उन्होंने इस संबंध में, क्योंकि आप जानते हैं कि जनजातीय क्षेत्रों के जनजातीय लोगों के विकास के लिए जो व्यवस्था है उस व्यवस्था में एक एससीए कंपोनेंट, एसटीसी कंपोनेंट होता है। उसके माध्यम से हम सभी मंत्रालयों के साथ मिलकर के काम करते हैं। तो स्वास्थ्य मंत्रालय के साथ क्लोजली हम कर रहे हैं और हमारे मंत्रालय में जो रिसोर्स गैप जहां पर आवश्यकता होती है उसको इस कार्य योजना के साथ मिला करके काम करते हैं।
श्री जी माधवी।
Thank you very much, sir. Sir,
estimates suggest that 77% of the tribal population has no access to the internet. Has the government conduct any survey to identify the extent of the internet access to the tribal population? What is being done to improve the situation, sir? Thank you.
अध्यक्ष महोदय, अभी आपको सुनकर या सदन को सुनकर खुशी होगी कि एक स्पेशल प्रोग्राम प्रारंभ किया गया है आईटी मिनिस्ट्री की तरफ से, और उसमें लगभग 6,500 करोड़ की व्यवस्था की गई है और 7,000 गांव में इंटरनेट व्यवस्था स्पेशल तरीके से ब्रॉडबैंड कनेक्शन 4G कैसे उपलब्ध कराया जाए वो सारे ट्राइबल विलेजेस हैं।
क्वेश्चन नंबर 246 श्री राजवीर सिंह, श्री भोला सिंह।
क्वेश्चन नंबर 246 अध्यक्ष।
माननीय मंत्री जी।
Answers been placed before the House.
जी धन्यवाद अध्यक्ष महोदय। माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, माननीय मंत्री जी के उत्तर से स्पष्ट हुआ है कि हमारी सरकार माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में हिमालय क्षेत्र की सांस्कृतिक विरासत के संरक्षण और विकास के लिए बहुत सारे कार्य कर रही है। मैं आपके माध्यम से माननीय मंत्री जी से जानना चाहूँगा कि सरकार ने हिमालय क्षेत्र की सांस्कृतिक विरासत के संरक्षण और विकास पर शोध करने के लिए अब तक किन किन केंद्रीय शोध संस्थाओं की स्थापना की है और क्या सरकार उनकी प्रगति से संतुष्ट है?
आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, जो स्कीम चलाई जाती है उसके अंदर जो संस्थाएं हैं उन संस्थाओं की स्थापना केंद्र सरकार नहीं करती है, बल्कि उसमें जो 6 राज्य हैं हिमालय के आसपास वाले, उसकी राज्य सरकारें प्रपोजल सिलेक्ट करके केंद्र के पास भेजती है। जो हमारी डिवीज़न है वो उसका मुआयना करती है और उसके बाद सरकार उनको फंड्स देती है। और अभी जो है पिछले कुछ वर्षों में उनको बढ़ाया गया है, तो 23.86 करोड़ से अब जो पैसा उस पर खर्च किया जा रहा है वो पिछले साल के मुताबिक इस साल 47.38 करोड़ है। और उसमें जो संस्थाएं हैं वो भी 117 से बढ़कर 203 हुई हैं। तो ये जो संस्थाएं हैं वो राज्य द्वारा, उसमें कुछ ट्रस्ट है, सोसाइटीज़ हैं और अन्य बॉडीज़ हैं, यूनिवर्सिटीज़ हैं जो राज्य भेजता है। और सिर्फ कुछ एक प्रदेशों के अंदर, खासतौर पे अरुणाचल और सिक्किम के अंदर जो है 90:10 का रेशो रखा जाता है, बाकी जगह 75:25 का रेशो रहता है।
दयाल चंद मेघवाल।
धन्यवाद अध्यक्ष महोदय। अध्यक्ष जी, राजस्थान भी सांस्कृतिक विरासत में कम नहीं है। विश्व में कोई भी टूरिस्ट अगर इंडिया में आता है तो राजस्थान जाने का जरूर उसका मन होता है। मेरा आपके माध्यम से माननीय मंत्री जी से जानना है कि जब प्रसाद योजना थी तो 2018 में राजस्थान के हनुमानगढ़ जिले में एक मोहनजोदड़ो है जो 5000 साल पूर्व की वहाँ की सभ्यता है कालीबंगा में, जिसको 1952 में BR लाल साहब ने उनको देखा था, माथुर साहब ने देखा था, और मैं खुद अभी भी उनसे मैं मिल के आया था। उनकी आयु 100 साल से भी ज़्यादा उनकी आयु है। उसके लिए केंद्र सरकार ने राशि जारी की थी। एक भटनेर दुर्ग है वहाँ पे, उसके लिए 3 करोड़ रुपए की राशि केंद्र सरकार ने 2018 में जारी की थी, लेकिन ASI अभी तक उसको परमिशन नहीं देती है इनके डिपार्टमेंट में, आपके डिपार्टमेंट में, क्योंकि जब वो अगर दीवारें उसकी टूट जाती तब जाके वो परमिशन देती है। मेरा आपके माध्यम से माननीय मंत्री जी से ये मैं जानना चाहता हूँ कि कालीबंगा सभ्यता और मोहनजोदड़ो की जो कालीबंगा सभ्यता उसको और भटनेर दुर्ग को जब मॉनिटरिंग इसकी किस प्रकार से होती है, अगर नहीं होती है तो मॉनिटरिंग सरकार को करनी चाहिए। और मेरा आपसे आग्रह है कि जो राशि दी है क्या केंद्र सरकार उसको कब तक लगाने में सक्षम करेगी? धन्यवाद।
आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, ये प्रश्न बिल्कुल
ये क्या हिमालय का क्वेश्चन था, ये राजस्थान में आ गया।
जी, लेकिन
हिमालय से मोहनजोदड़ो तक
जी वो मतलब रेगिस्तान तक पहुंच गए। लेकिन उसमें मैं ये जरूर बताना चाहती हूँ कि ऐसी ASI की व्यवस्था है, उसमें यूनिवर्सिटी साथ लगी रहती है और अभी राखीगढ़ी और अन्य ऐसे स्थान पाए गए हैं जिसमें धोलावीरा को इंस्क्राइब भी किया गया है। इनका जो प्रश्न है वो स्पेसिफिक
स्पेसिफिक कालीबंगा पर है। कालीबंगा से संबंधित जो भी उचित जानकारी होगी मैं माननीय सांसद तक पहुंचा दूंगी, और खास तौर पे इस प्रोजेक्ट को जिसको इन्होंने स्पेसिफिकली पूछा है उससे रिलेटेड सब डिटेल इन तक पहुंचा देंगे।
क्वेश्चन नंबर 247 श्री कृपाल बालाजी तुमाने।
क्वेश्चन नंबर 247
माननीय मंत्री जी
महोदय उत्तर सभा पटल पर रखा जाए।
धन्यवाद स्पीकर महोदय। मेरे संसदीय क्षेत्र रामटेक में काफ़ी लेबर होते हैं। माइनिंग में काम करने वाले लगभग 2 लाख लेबर है WCL और मॉइल में, और MIDC में भी काम करने वाले लगभग उतने ही लेबर होंगे। 2019 में 18 में घोषणा हुई थी और 19 में हमने भूमि पूजन किया था। उस समय संतोष गंगवार साहब जो उस समय के लेबर मंत्री जी थे, और हमारे दूसरे केंद्रीय मंत्री नागपुर से आप जानते हैं वो भी थे। हमने भूमि पूजन का बहुत बड़ा सरकार की ओर से कार्यक्रम किया, लेकिन अध्यक्ष महोदय वो अस्पताल का काम अभी तक चालू नहीं हुआ है। सरकार ने उसके लिए पहले एक ज़मीन दिया था, फिर वो ज़मीन बदलने के लिए कहा गया, वो ज़मीन बदल के दूसरी ज़मीन MIDC के अंदर ही दी गई है इंडस्ट्रियल एरिया में। मैं आपके माध्यम से माननीय मंत्री महोदय से पूछना चाहता हूँ कि अस्पताल का काम क्यों रुका है और उसकी क्या कठिनाई है, और आप कब तक इसको शुरू करने के लिए प्रयास करोगे?
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, ESIC के लगभग देश भर में 57 अस्पतालों में इस समय काम पेंडिंग है। उसके अलग अलग कारण हैं। कुछ कारण तो ज़मीन का पोजीशन नहीं मिल पाना है, कुछ कारण वहाँ पर अभी एजेंसी के द्वारा कार्य को जो नक्शे के साथ शुरू करना है वो शुरू नहीं हो पाना है। हमने ESIC की पिछली बैठक में इसके लिए एक डैशबोर्ड का गठन किया है, और अब जितने भी अस्पताल हैं ये सारे ESIC के डैशबोर्ड पे आएंगे। जिनकी भी प्रक्रियाएं लंबित पड़ी हैं उनको हमने व्यक्तिगत रूप से ही पत्र भेजे जिन सांसदों ने मुझे दिया है, और इन सब सारी कार्यवाहियों को अब हम पूरी तरीके से एक पोर्टल के माध्यम से संचालित कर रहे हैं।
सप्लीमेंट्री।
बहुत जल्दी आप शुरू हो जाएगा और लेबर को न्याय मिलेगा। मैं आज की तारीख में वहाँ पर जो अभी एक ESIC का नागपुर शहर में जो अस्पताल चल रहा है, उस अस्पताल की हालत बहुत ही खराब है। यानी वहाँ कोई व्यवस्था ही नहीं है। बेड तो 100 बेड का अस्पताल है, एक सादी सोनोग्राफी की मशीन नहीं है।
माननीय सभासदों, माननीय सभापति जी,
क्वेश्चन नंबर 181 श्री मुजीबुर खान जी। माननीय मुजीबुल्लाह खान जी, माननीय मुजीबुल्लाह खान नॉट प्रेजेंट, आंसर लेट। फर्स्ट सप्लीमेंट्री श्री अमर पटनायक जी।
Honorable Deputy Chairman, sir. So through you, I would like to ask this question. So Orissa produces more than 60% of the coal production in the country, and it is supplied to rest of the country. But the coal cess, which is levied as clean energy cess, has now been appropriated towards GST compensation. So there is no incentive and no compensation for the state that produces the coal, which is Orissa. Coal production results in environmental degradation. There is no care and concern or allocation of funds to take care of this, which was initially to be made from this clean energy cess. Honorable Chief Minister of Orissa had written to the Government of India to consider allocating 60% of this collection towards Orissa so that it could be used for environmental regeneration. I would like to know from the Honorable Minister what is Government of India's thinking on this.
Thank you.
Sir, basically question is on increase of royalty, but the Honorable Member has specifically questioned about the cess. The cess is initially, as he rightly quoted, it was a clean energy cess, now it is for the GST compensation, it is being used. But as far as this issue is concerned, this is, I am specifically what state governments are getting over and above royalty. Now we are doing auction also. And not only that, DMF is added to it, and also for the exploration and other things, states except the states of royalty and DMF, and also DMF is added, after that NMET is added. And also now the Odisha is doing extremely well. Odisha is doing so well that their revenue has gone up like anything. And still more is required, and you come out with, we have already given you number of coal blocks and number of mines. And let me complete. And whatever the Odisha government has requested, we have honored. And now all put together, including 2.5% GST which goes to the state, DMF and NMET and royalty, all put together, now 21% state is getting, and as of now the suggestion is not under consideration.
Thank you. Srimati Fauzia Khan ji.
With the recent approval of the e-auction of coal, opening the window for many other sectors, this is going to open the window for many other sectors, whether the government will revisit its intention to revise the rates of royalty now at least?
No, that's what I have already revised. All put together, after 2014 when the royalty was hiked or increased, rather revised, after that NMET is added, DMF is added, and GST 2.5% is also added. And it is on ad valorem basis. Whenever the prices of the coal goes up, or any mine for any mineral for that matter, that much will be added because it is on percentage, ad valorem basis. So that's why as of now it is not under consideration, because if you increase the coal royalty 100 rupees per ton, if you increase, then 6 paisa there will be increase per unit of the electricity. And it doesn't just affect, it is a cascading effect will be there. It is not just that it is just one coal price per ton is or royalty is increased. It steel, cement, so many other things, and including the consumer will be, he will be in the loss, or he has to face the consequences. That's why that is not under consideration as of now.
Thank you. Mani M. Thambi Durai.
Thank you, Deputy Chairman. Just now, Minister replied that even the royalty of the coal is not nowadays not going to increase. You know very well, sir, Railway Ligament Corporation is a big corporation in Tamil Nadu. It is producing a lot of coal and supply, generating power and supplying throughout all other states also. Kerala, Karnataka also are sharing it. Therefore, at the same time, the state governments are demanding more money to further to improve it, whatever getting benefits that has to be given to Tamil Nadu. Otherwise, and at the same time, Tamil Nadu is facing shortage of coal now. Many times, many ministers have come represented to the minister, other minister, requesting supply the coal. Therefore, let the other ministers come forward to increase the fund available from Navy Corporation to develop Tamil Nadu. At the same time, whether he will give the more coal to the Tamil Nadu for the shortage of this thing.
Sir, question is related to the royalty and I have replied that.
Yes.
As far as Neyveli is concerned, we are ready to supply electricity and we have also have the PPA and many other things with the state government. And many a time state itself, they are surrendering the power which is supposed to be supplied to the state government by the Neyveli Lignite Corporation. So whatever other things, may it be the job for the Tamilians and many other such things, Neyveli is doing, and even CSR activity also we are doing it. So now and coal, as far as supply of the coal is concerned, whenever normally Tangenco used to import it, but now the import price have highly increased. Now they are demanding more coal, but we are trying to meet out their demand.
Thank you. Question number 182, माननीय श्री KR सुरेश रेड्डी जी. Not available. माननीय मंत्री जी.
सभा पटल पर रख दिया गया.
फर्स्ट सप्लीमेंट्री माननीय श्री GVL नरसिंह राव.
With regard to the management of river basins, Honorable Minister has replied that one of the steps, one of the ways this river water resources management is done is by establishment of boards or authorities for water resources management in various river basins. But in respect of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, in respect of management of water, Krishna and Godavari waters, a gazette notification was issued by the central government on 15 July 2021 to regulate supply of water between the two states. But both the states, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, have not yet handed over the projects as per the gazette notification. The projects have not been handed over. At least Andhra Pradesh government has issued, sir, just half a minute, sir. Andhra Pradesh government has issued at least an order, but not handed over operational control. But Telangana government has not even taken note of this gazette notification and not issued any order. So I think because of this, the projects, a lot of projects are in the limbo. I would request the Honorable Minister to tell us how can this implementation of this gazette, how can this be made effective? If the states are not cooperating, what kind of action can the central government contemplate? Thank you.
पति महोदय, मूलतः प्रश्न ये था कि हमारे अंतर राज्य जल विवादों के लिए कोई तटस्थ पक्ष की नियुक्ति है या नहीं. जवाब में मैंने बड़े विस्तार से उसमें कहा भी था कि हमेशा से ये व्यवस्था देश के भीतर है जिसमें एक सुप्रीम कोर्ट के न्यायाधीश या पूर्व न्यायाधीश की अध्यक्षता में अंतर राज्य विवादों को निपटाने के लिए नियुक्ति होती है और अगर उनको ज़रूरत लगती है तो वो दो अपने समकक्ष सहयोगियों को उसमें शामिल करके सलाहकार के रूप में रख सकते हैं. मुझे लगता है जो माननीय सदस्य ने कहा है ये प्रश्न वो पहले भी पूछ चुके हैं. मेरा आपके माध्यम से उनसे निवेदन होगा कि जब कभी कोई अंतर राज्य जल विवाद होता है तो उसकी प्रक्रियाएं हैं लगातार और उस पर वो काम चल रहा है. मूलतः ये जल का जो विषय है वो राज्यों का विषय है. दोनों राज्यों की सहमति होनी चाहिए. प्रशासनिक स्तर पर भी बातचीत होती है, मंत्री स्तर पर भी बातचीत होती है. मुझे आपको बताते हुए, आपके माध्यम से सदन को बताते हुए गर्व हो रहा है कि हमारे माननीय मंत्री जी ने इस बीच में लगातार 2 बार बातचीत भी की है और जो अथॉरिटी है वो लगातार बैठ रही है. मैं मानता हूं कि जल्दी से, पर ये सच है कि ट्रिब्यूनल्स में काम करते समय दोनों राज्यों की सहमति आवश्यक होती है. सरकार उस पर पूरी तरह से सजग है और लगातार उस प्रयास को कर भी रही है.
धन्यवाद. डॉक्टर श्रीमती अम्मी याग्निक जी.
Sir, so I would like to ask the Honorable Minister a very pertinent question. The answer is given in detail, but very surprisingly the 2019 report of the Central Water Commission is not mentioned, where it has mentioned very categorically that almost 12 river basins, which are huge, are not having that water storage capacity. So 3 rivers of Gujarat, Tapi, Sabarmati and another river, all of them are having 20% below storage capacity. Now, if that Water Commission report is not taken view of by the government, what steps is the government taking to see that this water storage is going to be there as per requirement, and that will affect the climate change also. So I would like a reply from the Honorable Minister on this point.
Thank you.
उपसभापति जी, मैं माननीय सदस्य को धन्यवाद दूंगा और उनकी जानकारी के लिए कहूंगा कि उत्तर में तो हमने कहा भी है, लेकिन बजट के भीतर जो सबसे बड़ी सफलता है, जिस बात के लिए माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी को और मोदी सरकार को बधाई देनी होगी, कि जो नदी जोड़ो अभियान है, ये मैंने पहले ही आपसे कहा है कि दोनों राज्यों की सहमति से होता है, और मैं उत्तर प्रदेश और मध्य प्रदेश के मुख्यमंत्री को भी सदन के माध्यम से उनका अभिनंदन करता हूँ कि उन्होंने उस गतिरोध को तोड़ा और जो नदी जोड़ने का अभियान था, उस आंदोलन की शुरुआत हुई है और भारत सरकार ने बजट में 44,000 करोड़ रखे हैं। जो बात आप पूछ रही है उसमें मैं आपसे कहूंगा कि 2 प्रकार के बेसिन हैं, एक तो हिमालयन बेसिन है और दूसरा जो प्रायद्वीपीय बेसिन है। जिनकी आप बात कर रही हैं वो प्रायद्वीपीय बेसिन में आता है, लेकिन उनमें से 13 की डीपीआर बनकर तैयार है। ये और बजट में जब हमने 5 नदी जोड़ो लिंक परियोजनाओं की बात कही है, तो उसमें हमेशा से सिद्धांत ये है भारत सरकार का कि डेफिसिट बेसिन से सरप्लस बेसिन को जोड़ना, जो माननीय सदस्य स्वयं कह रही है। पर मुझे लगता है कि इसमें अंतर्राज्यीय परिस्थितियां होती हैं, उनकी जैसे ही सहमति बनती जाती है, हमारी डीपीआर उसके आधार पर बनती जाती है। अभी तक हमने 13 बेसिन के लिए डीपीआर तैयार किए।
माननीय ऑनरेबल श्री जोस के मनी.
Sir, globally India is ranked
Yes, it's working.
Globally, India is ranked 120th among 122 countries in Water AIDS Water Quality Index. The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change expenditure for the National River Conservation Program for the last 2 financial years was 0. Now the government has stated that timely and effective implementation will be done. But I think the time is alarming, especially the rivers in the south, in Kerala. If you see the river bed has come up with 1 day of rain, there is flood. Will you take immediate action and also a special package to to repair these siltation of the river, and the money may be provided to the state?
Thank you.
माननीय उपसभापति महोदय, लगातार जहां तक सवाल आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने अभी फिर से कैच द रेन इस अभियान की शुरुआत की है और उसमें वर्षा जल संचयन और जल संरक्षण, जल निकायों की गणना, उनकी बूटेपिंग, सूची तैयार करना, गाद निकालना, जैसा कि माननीय सदस्य ने कहा है। लेकिन अंतर्गतवा यही बात आती है कि जब कभी कोई बांध, उदाहरण के लिए मैं केरल का एक जवाब दूंगा कि बांध केरल में बना हुआ है और पानी का उपयोग तमिलनाडु करता है, उदाहरण के लिए। तो ऐसी स्थिति में अगर उसकी डिसिल्टिंग की बात आती है तो मुझे लगता है कि दोनों राज्य सरकारों की सहमति के बगैर वो काम हो नहीं सकता। पर यह सच है कि भारत सरकार ने इसकी पूरी मैपिंग की है ताकि हम जल स्रोतों की गणना करें और उसमें अगर कहीं डिसिल्टिंग की जरूरत पड़ती है तो राज्यों को सहयोग के साथ उस काम को गति के साथ आगे बढ़ाएं।
थैंक यू। क्वेश्चन नंबर 183, ऑनरेबल श्री जॉन ब्रिटस.
क्वेश्चन नंबर 183.
माननीय मंत्री जी. फर्स्ट सप्लीमेंट्री, माननीय जॉन ब्रिटस.
So it's a very important matter. I am completely shocked and aghast to see the reply of the Honorable Minister. Sir, 30 years back, his father, late Madhavrao Sindhyaji, declared the open sky policy and permitted even foreign freighters
to go to the non-metro airports. And that's why airports like Cochin, Trivandrum all survived. All of a sudden, after 30 years, his department had the audacity to ban the foreign freighters to non-metro airports, thereby crippling the life of the states. Sir, a state like Uttar Pradesh, 21 crores of people. Do you want the products of UP to be brought to Delhi? Except this metro. Sir, the cost has gone up for the exports. It has affected the exports, trade bodies, the farmers, the local population.
Question,
and the airports. Sir, it's a very
question.
important matter, sir. Question. It affects your state also, sir. It affects your state also.
Please.
Sir, even now, the Commerce Standing Committee unanimously resolved and ordered them. They have to review the policy because you are going back. This is against the declared policy of the government of India.
Brief question.
I doubt. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir, my question is that.
Yes.
What was the rational logic? And he says that the Indian operators are sufficient enough. Sir, airport of Cochin, after this new order, only 2 Indian operators flew the goods. And how does... Sir, my point is very simple.
Thank you.
What is the status?
Thank you.
What is the status?
माननीय मंत्री जी, ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर, प्लीज बी ब्रीफ ऑन क्वेश्चंस. मैं पुनः सदस्यों को, माननीय मंत्रियों को भी आग्रह करता हूं. चेयरमैन हैज ऑलरेडी गिवन डायरेक्शन. Please be brief on the question, otherwise I will move to...
It's a very important question, sir.
All questions are important.
Sir, your state is affected.
Please. All questions are important. Please.
Dhanyavad, Upsavapati Mohoday. I will request your indulgence, Upsavapati Mohoday, because I think it's important to give a very detailed response to the Honourable Member. The Honourable Member has raised a very pertinent issue. But I would like to bring some facts before the House through the question that has been asked. Let us understand that the trade in cargo across the world is close to about $270 billion, going to grow to about $375 billion. Air trade to GDP ratio in India today has grown to 4 to 8%. Air cargo sector should double in the next couple of years. Having said that, it's also important to understand the composition of the air cargo business. Scheduled operators conduct 90% of the business. Non-scheduled operators conduct only 10% of the business. And within that 10% of the business also, Savapati Mohoday, 98% of that 10% is conducted in the 6 metros. Only 2% is conducted in the other airports in the country. So of the air cargo operations, we are only talking about 0.2%. Now, the question here is, why is this important? The reason this is important is, first of all, let's understand that the air cargo business, all scheduled operators can still fly from all destinations. There is no roke on them, there is no ban on them. Only the NSOP segment, 2% of that, has been restricted for Indian carriers. The cargo that is carried in the belly of aircraft, whether scheduled or unscheduled, does not come under this prohibitory order at all. 71% of all cargo in India today is carried in the belly of passenger aircraft. Third, I'd like to inform the Honourable Member that today, if you look at the breakup between Indian carriers and foreign carriers, look at how badly it is skewed. Indian carriers, belly and dedicated aircraft, freighters, carry only 19% of cargo. 81% is carried by foreign carriers. And if you look at dedicated freighters alone, only 1% is carried by Indian carriers and 99% is carried by foreign carriers. I'm sure that the Honourable Member, the state that he comes from and the party that he belongs to, will fight for the cause of Atmanirbhar Bharat, for the cause of our Indian carriers, and by taking this step, if he asks me a supplementary, I will tell him that in a short amount of time, the results that our Indian carriers have been able to give to the nation, I shall also place before the House.
Thank you. Manya John Britashi, please be brief, otherwise other members will not get opportunity. Please, second question.
Sir, statistics many a time are obfuscating and confusing. He has tried to confuse. Sir, state of Kerala, say the airport of Cochin, we don't have scheduled foreign freighters because most of the exports are on seasonal, Vishu or Onam. We rely on passenger foreign airlines and also non-scheduled freighters. Sir, what he has done, during this pandemic, none of the foreign passenger flights were there. So there was no belly of the foreign airlines. At that time, he banned the non-scheduled. So
please, just question. Next question.
If at all, this is not a substantive number, why did he ban it? If it is insignificant, what was the need for banning it? And third thing, sir, one more point, sir. Has he gone to what is the statistics? What are the number of Indian freighters operated in the absence of non-scheduled foreign freighters? Has he got the statistics? Let him submit that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sabhapati Mohoday, and I would like to thank the honourable member for asking that supplementary.
Please.
I would like...
Have patience to listen.
I am responding to him in a very calm voice, so I request the honourable member to please hear my answer. Thank you very much. So the question that has been asked is very pertinent, that what has this policy resulted in? Has it actually given advantage to our cargo business? Has it given advantage to our Indian freighters? And it's a very pertinent question. So I'd like to put the points before the honourable member. First, because of COVID, please understand that all of our carriers were almost entering a period of insolvency. This has given a glimmer of hope for our carriers domestically within India. What has it resulted in? It has resulted in the following 4 points. First, the number of freighters in India that were limited in 2018 only to 8. In a period of 3 years, that number has jumped to 28. So we have almost increased our domestic freighter capacity by almost 3.5 times. That's point number 1. So therefore, Atmanirbhar Bharat, Indian carriers are beginning to stand on their own feet. And I'm sure that the party he belongs to, this is an ideology that he would support. Otherwise, they should not take a different stand with regard to other issues, with regard to the economy and with regard to civil aviation. If you support this stand, then I can understand you taking a different stand on other issues. But if you oppose this stand and you want foreign carriers to carry you there, then you must not take a different stand with regard to other issues on civil aviation or other economic issues from your state point of view. Point number 1. Point number 2, sir. Indian Airlines have modified 150 passenger aircraft to be able to carry cargo in belly as well as the seat areas. So therefore, our cargo capacity, in addition to the freighters increasing from 8 to 28, even our passengers have gone from, if I may use the term, P to C, passenger to cargo, 150 planes. Third, sir, May 19 to May 21, what was our share of international cargo traffic movements? A measly 1.8.
Please.
A measly 1.8%. Today, in a period of 2 years, that share of traffic has grown from 1.8% to 19%, sir. That is what we have been able to achieve in the last 2 years as far as cargo traffic is concerned. And finally,
sir, request kar raha hu, please. No, to all members.
You are asking us to be short. Minister can't do one.
Please, डेरिक जी आपको परमिशन नहीं बोलने का, एक तो नंबर 1, नंबर 2, आई विल क्लियर इट। मैंने शुरू में आपने सुना नहीं, ध्यान से सुना कर ये प्रोसीडिंग, मैंने स्पष्ट कहा था कि माननीय मंत्रीगण और माननीय सदस्य दोनों से आग्रह है। आई रिपीटेड इट। सर आप चेयरपर्सन फिर कमेंट्स मत करिए प्लीज।
मेरी आखिरी निवेदन है, मैं उत्तर नहीं दे सकता जो इनको अच्छा लगे, वो मेरा काम नहीं है। मुझे वास्तविकता सदन के समक्ष रखना होगा। मेरा आखिरी पॉइंट है, रेवेन्यू हैज ग्रोन फ्रॉम इन द लास्ट 1 year, रेवेन्यू फ्रॉम कार्गो हैज ग्रोन फ्रॉम 1498 crores to 2300 crores. So Indian air freighters and airlines and cargo airlines are beginning to stand on their own feet, and that's what we want in Atmanirbhar Bharat.
माननीय सदस्यगण प्लीज, मैंने बार बार क्वेश्चन और शुरू होने के बाद इस सत्र में सबसे आग्रह किया है, सदस्यों से किया है, मंत्रियों से किया है, और माननीय सारे बड़े सदस्यों को मैं कहता हूं, सबको कहता हूं, रिकॉर्ड निकाल कर देखें। पर मैं, अगर आप उन अनुदेशों का जो माननीय चेयरमैन नहीं देने, बार बार वो कह रहे हैं, बता रहे हैं, नहीं पालन करते हैं, हाउ आई शुड प्रोसीड, आप तय करें। श्रीमती झरना दास बैद, प्लीज।
मैं आपके माध्यम से
क्वेश्चन
मंत्री जी से ये पूछना चाहती हूँ।
माइक काम कर रहा है आप।
थैंक यू सर। आपके माध्यम से माननीय मंत्री जी से ये पूछना चाहती हूँ। माननीय मंत्री जी कुछ दिन पहले अगरतला इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट, महाराजा वीर विक्रम एयरपोर्ट चालू किया है, लेकिन फॉरेन अभी तक बांग्लादेश फ्लाइट भी चालू नहीं हुआ। लेकिन एक फ्लाइट अगरतला से दिल्ली टू अगरतला जो एयर इंडिया फ्लाइट है, एक ही फ्लाइट है, वो भी 27 मार्च से बंद हो रहा है। ये क्यों बंद हो रहा है आज तक हम लोगों को समझ में नहीं आया। कोई पैसेंजर का कमी नहीं है, तो ये क्यों बंद हो रहा है ये मैं जानना चाहती हूँ।
धन्यवाद।
ये प्रश्न कार्गो पर है, पर जो माननीय सांसद जी ने प्रश्न उठाया है, अगर आकर मुझसे मिलेंगे इस पर हम जरूर चर्चा करेंगे। सिविल एविएशन सेक्टर अब रेगुलेटेड सेक्टर नहीं है, हम लोग क्रियान्वयन और कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकते कि कौन सा एयरलाइन कहाँ फ्लाई करे, लेकिन जरूर आके जरूर मिलेंगे तो इस पर हम लोग विचार विमर्श करेंगे।
माननीय श्री नरेश गुजराल जी।
While I commend the Minister for following this policy of Atmanirbhar Bharat, the flip side, sir, is the Minister aware that today Indian carriers are refusing to pick up cargo for the last
10 days in a place like Delhi even. Exporters are facing cancellations, and the reality is that in the name of Atmanirbhar Bharat, India will suffer, Bharat will suffer, because exporters will get cancellations. And will the Minister take immediate steps to redress this issue? Thank you.
This is not a fact. I would like to refute that on the floor of this House. In fact, our cargo airlines revenue numbers have gone up by almost 50%. Our cargo airlines also expanding very, very rapidly. And I am sure that in the coming days, even if there is an issue temporarily for a day or two, that will be resolved. There will be no issue with regard to export of cargo from Delhi or any other city in India.
Thank you. Srimati Dola Sen ji, please, Dola Sen ji, no, please, Dola Sen ji, no. माननीय नरेश जी, आपने सवाल पूछ लिया, प्लीज, उसके लिए प्रक्रिया अगर आप
Whatever be the central government's policy of selling our national carrier Air India, or notification of DGCA of restricting foreign cargo carriers to land all over, I want to ask the Honorable Civil Aviation Minister that all this policy of Atmanirbhar Bharat of your government are creating joblessness to lot. How to justify this policy of increasing unemployment by Atmanirbhar Bharat policy?
Thank you.
Up Sabhapati Mohoday, as far as this question is concerned, let me say this, that the civil aviation sector is one of the sectors that has the greatest economic multipliers and employment multipliers across any country in the world. We have an economic multiplier of almost 3.1. The effects of 1 rupee of investment creates 3.1 rupees worth of output in civil aviation. Similarly, in the area of employment, every direct job that is created through civil aviation gives almost close to 6.1 indirect jobs created through civil aviation. Therefore, the growth of civil aviation is most important. And in the last 7 years, what has been made possible under this government, we had 74 airports in the country prior to 2014. Today, we have added 66 more airports under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and we've gone to 140 airports. And by 24-25, we will go to 220 airports and increase civil aviation in the country.
Thank you. Now question number 184. 184, Mani Sayyid Nasir Hussain, please.
Sir, question number 184.
माननीय मंत्री जी.
Sir, answer is tabled.
Thank you. For supplementary.
Sir, I went through the answer. It just mentions about the passenger movement, but I was actually asking about the overall growth of aviation sector, especially in Karnataka, sir. I thought you would be giving us information about the airport infrastructure, number of new destinations, number of flights, jobs, and also the revenue earned. But you have just given the passenger movement information in this. I want to ask a specific question. It's regarding Ballari, from where I come from. Land for the airport was given long back. Land was already acquired. Work was started, and I don't know for what reason the work has stopped there. And this is also the case with Raichur Airport and many other airports in Karnataka. I want to ask the minister, when will the work start and when will it be completed?
Thank you.
Sir, as far as what the member has asked with regard to passenger movement in Karnataka and infrastructure in Karnataka, Karnataka has always been a bellwether state in terms of growth in civil aviation. Roughly, it composes of 10% of the civil aviation traffic in the country. In the last year, prior to pandemic, we had total passengers in the country of close to about 3.5 crores, of which Karnataka had contributed close to about 35 lakhs. And we are looking at a steady progression in the years to come. Close to 404 million passengers in the year 23-24, of which Karnataka again will contribute close to about 10%, which is about 40 million. As far as Bellary Airport is concerned, Upsapapati Mode, this is a state government airport. We have been in conversation with the state government. The state government had entered into an agreement with a private party to put in place this airport. Unfortunately, for multiple reasons, that has not been possible. The state government has taken legal opinion, and we have said very clearly that they should take whatever action to make sure that this construction starts as soon as possible.
Please, thank you.
Second.
Mani Praful, second supplementary.
So again, the minister has missed mentioning about the jobs, flights, new destinations, and the revenue earned in Karnataka. He is just mentioning about the passenger. And again regarding Ballari, the work has been stopped. He has still not mentioned when will the work start and when will it be completed. So my second question is the government thinking of opening up defense airstrips to civilians in the places where there are no airports, especially in places like Karwar in Karnataka, where a new naval airstrip is coming up? Will these kind of defense airstrips will be opened for civilians, especially where there are no airports?
Thank you.
I categorically answered the honourable member with regard to the Bellary Airport, and I have mentioned very clearly that the state government has to take a decision whether to terminate the agreement with the party or not. That is the state government's decision. We have given them an advisory that they can go ahead and do it. As far as using defense airports, naval or air, for civil aviation purposes, we are in dialogue with the Ministry of Defence on multiple airstrips. And we are seeing wherever there is a demand for air connectivity, those airstrips, we are directly in dialogue with the Defence Ministry to be used to be able to develop under UDAN, Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik, to provide connectivity to those areas.
Thank you. माननीय प्रफुल्ल पटेल जी.
धन्यवाद उपसभापति महोदय. मंत्री महोदय ने सिविल एविएशन के ग्रोथ के बारे में तो अच्छे आंकड़े बताए हैं. मुझे भी सौभाग्य रहा है कि इस जो इनके आज के प्रयास है उसमें कुछ योगदान पूर्व में देने का भी मौका मिला. सवाल उनको एक और धन्यवाद भी दे दूं कि मेरे गृहनगर गोंदिया से उन्होंने उड़ान के माध्यम से पहली वहाँ से नागरिक विमान सेवा की शुरुआत की, तो उसके लिए भी आपको धन्यवाद. सवाल मेरा एक ही है कि जितने भी छोटे शहरों को हम जोड़ रहे हैं, ये सारे शहरों को, चाहे मुंबई हो, दिल्ली हो, कलकत्ता हो, बेंगलोर हो, हैदराबाद हो, ऐसे शहरों के साथ यातायात के लिए आवश्यकता है. बाकी शहरों के बीचों बीच आपस में जो यातायात होती है उसकी आवश्यकता है, लेकिन कम है. हर आदमी इन बड़े
शहरों के माध्यम से जुड़ना चाहता है। आज अभी जैसे आपको मैंने उदाहरण दिया गोंदिया का, गोंदिया को आपने जोड़ा है हैदराबाद और इंदौर के साथ, खुशी की बात है, लेकिन गोंदिया महाराष्ट्र में है, वहां के व्यक्ति को मुंबई आना होगा और मुंबई में हवाई स्लॉट मिलता नहीं है उतरने के लिए। वही हालत दिल्ली में भी बहुत उसकी तंगी है, वही हालत चेन्नई में है, वही हालत कलकत्ते में है। तो मेरा उनसे ये निवेदन है कि जो छोटे शहरों को जोड़ने की उड़ान के माध्यम से योजना है सराहनीय है, लेकिन जब तक उन छोटे शहरों को बड़े मेट्रोस के साथ नहीं जोड़ा जाएगा तो जो उसकी उपयुक्तता है या जो उसकी सफलता हम चाहते हैं, आप चाहते हैं, उसमें कहीं ना कहीं रुकावट आएगी। तो इसके बारे में आपकी टिप्पणी क्या है?
धन्यवाद।
क्या मुझे
धन्यवाद प्रफुल्ल।
धन्यवाद उपसभापति महोदय। माननीय सांसद महोदय ने बहुत उम्दा सवाल पूछा है और ये सत्य है उपसभापति महोदय कि हम लोगों की आशा और अभिलाषा है कि छोटे शहरों को हम बड़े शहरों के साथ जोड़ें और इस तारतम्य में एक जरूर विसंगति है कि जो हमारे बड़े बड़े शहर में एयरपोर्ट्स हैं उनकी कैपेसिटी पूर्ण रूप से इस्तेमाल की जा रही है। इसलिए कई बड़े शहरों के एयरपोर्ट्स में विस्तारीकरण की योजना चल रही है। उदाहरण के तौर पर दिल्ली में आज करीब 7 करोड़ पैसेंजर्स दिल्ली के एयरपोर्ट से निकलते हैं और हमारी कोशिश है कि दिल्ली एयरपोर्ट को हम लोग 10 करोड़ की कैपेसिटी तक हम लोग ले जाएं। उस विस्तारीकरण की योजना आज चल रही है। जेवर में नया एयरपोर्ट की आधारशिला प्रधानमंत्री जी के द्वारा रखा गया है। 2024 तक करीब 1 करोड़ 20 लाख की कैपेसिटी का पहला फेज वहां तैयार हो जाएगा। तो पूरी उत्तरी भारत की ट्रैफिक जेवर में भी पहुंचने की हमारी आशंका है। वैसे मुंबई के लिए भी हम लोग नवी मुंबई की एयरपोर्ट की शुरुआत कर रहे हैं और वो भी अगले 3 साल तक तैयार हो जाएगी। हमारी कोशिश है कि छोटे शहरों को हम बड़े शहरों के साथ जोड़ें और बड़े शहरों में कैपेसिटी एक्सपेंशन भी करें। इस लक्ष्य की पूर्ति के लिए हम लोग पूरी तरह से संकल्पित हैं।
धन्यवाद मंत्री जी। माननीय मनोज कुमार झा जी।
प्रश्न छोटा भी है और प्रश्न में आग्रह भी है। आग्रह महत्वपूर्ण है माननीय सिविल एविएशन मिनिस्टर साहब से कि पूर्णिया एयरपोर्ट एक है टेक्निकली फौज से रिलेटेड है, लेकिन सर 16-17 जिले न सिर्फ बिहार के बल्कि बंगाल के भी कई इलाकों को उससे मदद मिलेगी। तो मैं इस आग्रह को सवाल की चादर में आपके समक्ष रख रहा हूं। दरभंगा एयरपोर्ट, सर मैं टिप्पणी यही खत्म करूंगा। दरभंगा एयरपोर्ट वो चिंता का विषय, वहां उड़ान हो रही है, काफी पैसेंजर मूवमेंट है, लेकिन बुनियादी सुविधाएं वहां नहीं है। अगर इस दृष्टिकोण से बिहार पर आपकी नजरें इनायत हो तो पूर्णिया एयरपोर्ट चालू हो जाए तो हम लोग साथ उड़ेंगे। शुक्रिया।
धन्यवाद मनोज जी।
उपसभापति महोदय, जो माननीय सदस्य ने विषय उठाया है जरूर महत्वपूर्ण है और इस पर हम लोग कोशिश भी कर रहे हैं। प्रदेश सरकार से भी चर्चा हो रही है और रक्षा मंत्रालय के साथ भी चर्चा हो रही है और इस पर हम लोग जरूर प्रयासरत हैं। रक्षा मंत्रालय के द्वारा पूर्णिया एयरपोर्ट की जो एयर स्ट्रिप है उसका उन्नयनीकरण का कार्य वर्तमान में चल रहा है और इसमें जो आप और हम दोनों चाहते हैं कि पूर्णिया एयरपोर्ट की शुरुआत हो, इसमें प्रदेश सरकार के द्वारा जमीन जब हमें मिले उस पर हम लोग कार्य करेंगे और प्रदेश सरकार के साथ हम लोग चर्चा कर रहे हैं कि जल्द से जल्द वो जमीन हमको दें ताकि उस पर हम लोग एक बिल्डिंग और इमारत भी बना पाए ताकि उससे हम लोग हवाई सेवा शुरू कर पाए।
धन्यवाद। माननीय राकेश सिन्हा जी।
सभापति महोदय, मैं पहले तो भारत सरकार को बधाई देना चाहता हूं कि सिविल एविएशन को उन्होंने सामान्य जनता से जोड़ा उड़ान योजना के द्वारा। मैं मंत्री जी से जानना चाहता हूं कि बिहार का एकमात्र औद्योगिक नगर बरौनी बेगूसराय है। दशकों से वहां उड़ान योजना से जोड़ने की मांग हो रही है। क्या भारत सरकार बरौनी बेगूसराय को उड़ान योजना से जोड़ने की पहल करेगी? चूँकि औद्योगिक और सांस्कृतिक केंद्र होने के कारण वहाँ की ट्रैफिक और वहाँ जो पोटेंशियल है अर्निंग की वो बहुत अधिक है। इससे मेरा निवेदन भी है और प्रश्न भी है। धन्यवाद।
सभापति महोदय, ये प्रश्न कर्नाटक के साथ जुड़ा हुआ है। अगर माननीय सांसद महोदय आकर मुझसे चर्चा करेंगे इस पर हम लोग दोनों बात करके आगे का रास्ता हम लोग तय करेंगे।
धन्यवाद। क्वेश्चन नंबर 185 डॉक्टर वी शिवदासन जी। माननीय मंत्री जी। फर्स्ट सप्लीमेंट्री वी शिवदासन।
Joblessness is the greatest crisis in our times. Here,
we see a lot of examples. Sir, crores of youngsters are waiting for a job irrespective of their educational qualifications. Millions of young men and women are preparing for a job in Indian military. They are the sons and daughters of workers and peasants in our nation. In this August House, the minister had given an answer to my question on the vacancies of armed forces. That shows the vacancy in army is above 1,25,000. Same kind of vacancies are in Navy and in Air Force. Youngsters are knocking the doors of authorities, but they are not responding properly. So it should be corrected. So that is why I am raising the question, the number of recruitment in the armed forces, service-wise and year-wise data since 2018.
Thank you. मान्यवर
जी, मान्यवर स्पष्ट है उत्तर में आपने 2018 से पूछा है। 2018-19 में 53,431 हमने भारतीय सेना में भर्ती किए और भारतीय नौसेना में 5,885 और भारतीय वायुसेना में 6,862। इतनी संख्या हमने भर्ती की और इसके बाद 2019-20 में भी भारतीय सेना में हमने 80,572 और भारतीय नौसेना में 6,068 और वायुसेना में 7,222 भर्ती किए। लेकिन 2020-21 और 2021-22 में मान्यवर कोविड आने के कारण सारे प्रोसेस रुक गए हैं, सारे कार्यक्रम हमारे नहीं विश्व के रुके हुए हैं। और जैसे ही ये सब खुलेंगे और जैसे हमको गाइडलाइन मिलेगी, क्योंकि कोविड कम जरूर हुआ है, समाप्त नहीं हुआ है, इसलिए सब लोगों को चौकन्ना रहना है। इस वजह से जब भी ये खुलेगा उसको आगे उस पर विचार किया जाएगा।
Second supplementary, Dr. V.
The Minister has suffered the COVID, and my second question is related to that. During this COVID period, the employees has been received special arrangements like working arrangements or special leaves from their employers. Whether the government has taken any kind of steps for the persons in Indian military?
Thank you.
हमने ऑनलाइन में एयरफोर्स और नेवी में ऑनलाइन भर्ती होती है, लेकिन जब ये आर्मी की भर्ती होती है तो उसमें बहुत सारे मेले लगते हैं मान्यवर, बड़ी भीड़ आती है सबसे ज्यादा। तो इसी सुविधा को देखते हुए कोविड फैले नहीं, वो हमने स्थगित किया हुआ है, रोका नहीं हुआ है। यही सुविधा हम इस समय दे सकते हैं।
थैंक यू। नाउ ऑनरेबल KRN राजेश कुमार जी।
Honorable respected Deputy Chairman sir, may the Honorable Minister please provide the details of the category-wise backlog vacancies of SC, STs and OBCs in armed force, especially in NDA, NA, CDS examination which are conducted by UPSC and short service commission examination and another various
one question only Rajesh, one question you got.
जी, इसकी सूचना एकत्रित करके बता देंगे, वैसे इससे रिलेटिव नहीं है। जितना पूछा है आपने उसका बताया है, आपको सूचना दे देंगे इसमें।
माननीय वंदना चौहान जी।
For giving me the opportunity. So more than 16 countries in the world allow women in combat roles in armed forces. The government of India has so far refused to allow women in these categories. With right to equality, changing notions of gender norms and pressing demands from several quarters, are there any plans to recruit women in combat roles in the armed forces?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
कहीं पर भी रोक नहीं है, चल रहा है, आप सब जानते हैं।
Specifically combat roles के बारे में नहीं, combat roles में नहीं अलाउ किया
नहीं, जो होना है वो कर सकते हैं, जो आगे विचार करना है विचार चल रहा है।
थैंक यू। माननीय महेश पोद्दार जी, माननीय महेश पोद्दार जी, उसकी प्रक्रिया है मैडम, उसकी प्रक्रिया है मैडम, प्लीज।
महोदय, झारखंड के दक्षिणी आदिवासी बहुल क्षेत्र से फौज में काफी लोग जाते हैं और बीआरओ वगैरह में भी काफी लोग जाते हैं। महोदय, उनके पास फौज में जाना एक विकल्प है या दूसरा उग्रवाद के चंगुल में फंसना एक विकल्प है। महोदय, इस क्षेत्र के लोगों ने श्रद्धेय परमवीर चक्र प्राप्त अल्बर्ट एक्का के द्वारा अपनी वीरता का प्रमाण भी दिया है। 2 साल से नियुक्तियां बंद है
मैं माननीय मंत्री जी से जानना चाहूंगा कि जब भी शीघ्र स्टार्ट होगी तो क्या उस क्षेत्र के लोगों को विशेष अभियान चला करके मौका दिया जाएगा? थैंक यू।
वर्तमान में देश में 11 क्षेत्रीय भर्ती कार्यालय हैं और 2 भर्ती डिपो हैं, जिसमें हम गोरखा रेजिमेंट इत्यादि नेपाल से भी लेते हैं, और एक स्वतंत्र भर्ती कार्यालय है जिसमें एनसीआर के लोगों को लेते हैं यहाँ पर, और 70 सेना भर्ती कार्यालय हैं। इसलिए कोई भी क्षेत्र अछूता नहीं है, हर क्षेत्र को हम समान अवसर देते हैं। अगर कहीं पर कोई छूट भी जाता है तो हम दोबारा से वहां पर भर्ती करवाते हैं। चूंकि इस समय मैं पहले ही कह चुका हूं, थोड़ा सा विलंब हुआ है कोविड की वजह से, अतिशीघ्र सारे लोगों को बिना जाति, धर्म, वर्ग, क्षेत्र के ऊपर उठकर सबको बराबरी का अवसर हर क्षेत्र को भारत के हर जगह पर मिलता है।
धन्यवाद। माननीय सदस्यगण, किसी भी जवाब से अगर आप असंतुष्ट हैं तो उसके लिए रूल्स और प्रोसीजर के तहत प्रक्रिया है, कृपया उसका पालन करें। क्वेश्चन नंबर 186, श्रीमती प्रियंका चतुर्वेदी।
Sir, thank you, sir. Question number 186.
Please.
Oh, sorry, sir.
Sir, the statement is laid on the table of the House.
Oops, Minister.
Please. आप कुछ
माननीय उपसभापति महोदय, जो माननीय सदस्यों ने जानना चाहा है रिक्रूटमेंट के बारे में, तो मैं जानकारी देना चाहता हूं कि प्रतिवर्ष 90 से लेकर 100, 90 to 100 यह रैली सारे देश भर में होती है। हमारी आर्मी का यह पूरा प्रयास रहता है कि रैलियों को इस प्रकार से आयोजित किया जाए प्रतिवर्ष, ताकि देश का कोई भी जिला शेष न बचे। यहाँ के यदि युवक उसमें पार्टिसिपेट करना चाहते हैं रैली में, तो उन्हें पार्टिसिपेट करने का अवसर न मिले, ऐसा एक भी जिला शेष न बचे। तो ये लगातार ये एक कंटिन्यूअस प्रोसेस है, चलता रहता है। और जब भी रैलियां होती है, लगभग 90 से लेकर 100 यह रैलियां होती हैं, और एक रैली में सामान्यतः 6 से लेकर 8 जिले कवर किए जाते हैं। उपसभापति महोदय, केवल सदन की जानकारी के लिए मैंने यह बात ये रखी है।
धन्यवाद। 186, माननीय प्रियंका चतुर्वेदी जी। माननीय मंत्री जी, बड़ा फर्स्ट सप्लीमेंट्री प्रियंका जी।
Sir, as per the answer that I have got with regards to my question, the answer says Indian oil and gas public sector undertakings had imported approximately less than 1% of its total crude oil import from Russia in the year 21-22. However, Indian Oil Corporation is also a shareholder, is invested in some of the companies in Russia, happens to be Rosneft, where British Petroleum has just exited. That has been their call. So will this impact Indian Oil Corporation's investment in that particular company, sir? Thank
you. Sir, I would like to start by thanking the Honourable Minister for raising a question which is very timely and pertinent. Maybe this reflects my expectation of her political rise, but I apologize. The Honourable Member. Sir, I am particularly grateful to the Honourable Member for having raised this question, because in the context of the ongoing military action in that part of the world, Russia and Ukraine, several issues are being raised. The first supplementary, sir, that the Honourable Member has raised relates to the quantum of imports. The second one, I think, relates to the investment. So insofar as the quantum of imports is concerned, this gives me an opportunity to clarify that in the financial years 2018-19, 19-20, 20-21, and the first 9 months of the current financial year, our total imports of crude from Russia have been 0.6%, 1.3%, 0.3% and 0.2%, which means that even the less than 1% figure of imports from Russia will take a long time to fill at the current rate, because already 9 months of the financial year are over. Insofar as Indian investments in Russia are concerned, sir, our oil companies have invested from the time, sir, if I recall correctly, of Vajpayee ji's government, something a total of $16 billion. Some of those investments are very profitable, as I've had the opportunity of informing this House on an earlier occasion. Sakhalin 1, for instance, where OVL has, I think, 20% of the share. Our investment of $337 million has resulted in an overall revenue already of $3.7 billion of oil of revenue, and we have another 20 years of assets still left there. Sir, the discussion on whether Western oil entities are exiting from some of these facilities, like the honorable member, I have also seen reports in the public domain press. Sir, when we look at some of these, and we are in discussion, we are in fact in discussion with some of these Western oil companies, so the facts on the ground, I think, vary. There is a nuanced approach. Some have indicated an intent to exit. Others have said they will not make fresh investments. But as I said, we are monitoring the situation, and insofar as oil imports are concerned from Russia, contrary to what is being played up in the press, these are minuscule. Even now, the total amount contracted will be less than 3 days supply from India, from Russia to India, and that also spread over the next 3 to 4 months.
Thank you. Second supplementary, Priyanka ji.
Sir, just to put this on the record, as far as British Petroleum is concerned, it has led the BP board to conclude, after a thorough process, that our involvement with Rosneft, a state-owned enterprise, simply cannot continue. So it has stopped. Now, to the second supplementary question, sir, there have been news reports which suggest that India has been, is going to increase its crude oil trade and economic engagements with Russia, considering there's a deep discount going on. Will that conflict, in the ongoing conflict, will that have any kind of diplomatic and economic ramifications as far as our future relations with other countries are concerned? Thank you so much, sir.
Sir, thank you. Through you, I would like to inform the honorable member that the exact words she's quoted, cannot continue. Cannot continue, again, I read as an intent that they would like to bring those arrangements in. But we are in discussion with the highest levels of those companies, and I have no doubt that if those companies were to exit, finally, as some companies are saying, they have no intention to invest further there. But if they are, and if there are economic opportunities that become available, we will certainly look at all those possibilities. Let me mention that the one facility where one of the Western entities is the operator, one of our oil companies has a 20% share. Now, we got worried when we read those reports, because if the operator is exiting, then the facility's production will be undermined. But we were told no, production facilities will continue. So we will discuss on a case-by-case basis with everyone and our oil companies. Sir, we have typically arrangements which are government to government and company to company. The kind of arrangements that the honorable member is mentioning are company to company. One of them is an Indian public sector entity, and on the other side is the Russian state company which he is mentioning. But insofar as increased oil imports are concerned, I would again like to reiterate, in the first 9 months of the year, we have imported only 0.2% of our requirements. Let me give you the exact figures. We require, Madam Honorable Sir, a total of 5 million barrels per day. That's our consumption. 60% of it comes from the Gulf. We have imported from Russia only 0.419 million metric tons out of a total of 175,000, which is less than, very much less than 1%, 0.2%. Even if we were to scale these up considerably, it would still be a drop, literally a drop in a larger bucket. Thank you.
Mani Neeraj Dangi ji.
I would like to ask the Honorable Minister. I would like to ask the Honorable Minister, with your permission, sir, the view of the government on the potential impact on the India-US relations in the light of the rupee-ruble trade oil deal with Russia. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, let me start by saying that India and the United States have a robust bilateral energy relationship. And let me also point out to the honorable member through you that in the financial year 2021, we imported 14 million metric tons of crude from the United States, and that this represented 7.3% of our requirements, as against the less than 1% from the Russian Federation. On the current year, based on our imports from the United States, if I look at the projection, these are likely to go up from 14 million metric tons to 16.8 million metric tons, or a value of about $10 billion US dollars of imports of crude oil from the US. If I add to that the amount of gas which we are importing and coal, I think the figure comes closer to $13.5 billion of imports from the United States. So it is a robust relationship on the energy front, and I see this continuing for some time.
Thank you. माननीय अजय बच्चन जी.
पूछना चाहता हूँ.
Please, thank you. माननीय अवीर रंजन जी.
So as we know that up to now,
you're my friend.
The Russia-Ukraine crisis has not had a bearing on the diesel and petrol prices. But sir, we know kerosene is a poor man's fuel. And most deplorably, this price of kerosene has gone up by more than 200%, from rupees 22 per litre to rupees 45 per litre, and only in a matter of 10 days. I would like to know, is this due to the Russia-Ukraine crisis?
Thank you.
Sir, it is the well-stated policy of the government to discourage progressively the use of kerosene. We are trying to encourage state governments which come to us for quotas to try not to encourage kerosene, because we want to take our brothers and sisters, especially our sisters and mothers, onto cleaner fuels. You know how kerosene prices react under particular situations, but I particularly doubt whether the increase in the last 1 week or so has any direct, is a direct offshoot of what is happening on the Russia-Ukraine front. It could. I don't have the precise listing. I'd be happy to look into it. Insofar as gas and oil prices are concerned, as I said, even though the international price has shot up from something like $84-85 dollars a barrel, today it was, I think, close to 111. The concerned oil companies have not passed this on to the consumer. When they will, etc., these are decisions which they will have to take.
Thank you. माननीय वी विजय साई रेड्डी जी. आपका नहीं हो सर. Please.
Sir, in a coordinated move, with other big global consumers such as US and Japan, India released 5 million barrels of crude oil from its strategic petroleum reserves. I would like to know, has the ministry studied the impact of such release from the strategic reserves on the international crude oil prices? If so, whether prices have come down?
Thank you.
Sir, I would like to thank the honourable member for this question on strategic petroleum reserves and the Government of India's decision, if I recall correctly, in November of last year, when we had joined the other consuming countries, particularly, if I recall correctly, United States, Japan, Korea, and one or two others, to permit a limited release. And I think we had released about 5 million on that occasion. At that point, the prices were not as volatile, the international market, because that was well before the military action between Russia and Ukraine, which started on 24th February. On that occasion, yes, the release had some sobering impact, but you will agree, sir, and through you I want to inform the honourable member that for countries like India, which have limited strategic reserves, it cannot be a solution, a panacea. So on a second occasion, when the consuming countries through the IEA, that is the International Energy Agency, decided to do another release, I think of a total of 60 million or so, but at that stage, India had signaled an intent and a support, but we have not done the release. So releases from strategic reserves can have a limited impact in given situation, but when the international market is so roiled as it is today, high prices, I think it's not limited.
Many members, House stands adjourned to meet at 2 p.m. Thank you.
तो हम भी शामिल थे उसमें, तो वहाँ भी उनके नोटिस में लाए गए थे कि कुछ चैलेंज जो हमारे स्टेट जम्मू कश्मीर को है रोड के हवाले से। सर, सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है हमारा NH-44 का। ये 3 महीनों में कोई 1.5 महीना NH-44 जो कि एक सड़क है, जो कि एक लाइफलाइन है बिटवीन जम्मू एंड श्रीनगर, वो बंद रही। और सारा अगर आप जनाब देखेंगे रोड्स पर जो एक्सीडेंट्स होते हैं उसमें कैजुअलिटीज़ जो होती हैं, जो फैटल एक्सीडेंट्स होते हैं, उसमें आपको यही रोड, या तो डोडा वाला रोड या ये NH-44 वाला रोड, ये सबसे आगे है सारे मुल्क में। कितने फैटल एक्सीडेंट्स होते हैं। अब कैसे काम चलेगा जब आप एक जो मेन लाइन है, लाइफ लाइन जो है, वो रहेगी कोई मिल मिला के 3 महीने में 1.5 महीने बंद रहेगी। तो मैंने ये तजवीज़ दी मिनिस्टर साहब को ये की थी कि आप ये एलिवेटेड रोड बनाइए बिटवीन रामबन एंड बानियाल। जनरल साहब जानते हैं, तो वही सबसे बड़ा सेक्टर है जिस सेक्टर में ये नहीं कि हुआ नहीं कुछ, 2 चिनानी की टनल बन गई, जब काजीगुंड की टनल बन गई, बहुत कुछ हुआ आगे, लेकिन इस सेक्टर को आप एलिवेटेड